what is digestion? Quite simply, it's the breakdown of food into smaller molecules. We need to eat food to give our bodies energy. This is then absorbed by the body and used in all the processes that it completes. We need to eat a balanced diet with food from a variety of sources. When we talk about the digestive system, we mean all the organs that are included in the process. It's basically a continuous tube with an opening at each end, so one at the mouth and one at the anus. It has 6 main functions: ingestion, which is a process of taking on food and drink; secretion, which is a process of enzymes being added to the food to aid digestion; mixing and propulsion, so the food will be mixed with these enzymes, and propulsion is the movement of the food through the digestive system. Digestion itself is the process of breaking down foods. Absorption is the process of the body taking on the nutrients that have been brought down, and lastly, defecation, which is removing any waste that's left in the body. So the mouth is the start of the digestive system, the main components being the teeth and the tongue. The main role of the teeth is to chew the food, which is called mastication, and this starts the digestive process known as mechanical digestion. We've got 3 pairs of salivary glands in the mouth which secrete saliva, which then mixes with the food. The activation of this is completely automatic. The food is then rolled into a ball, which is called a bolus, and is pushed down the throat by the tongue. The tongue is also used for chewing and tasting food. So the pharynx, which is at the top of the neck, just in this part, receives the bolus of food from the mouth, and from this point onward the process is completely involuntary. It's composed of a muscular wall, and the muscles contract and push the bolus down the larynx into the esophagus. The esophagus is approximately 25 centimetres in length and roughly 2 centimetres in diameter, and it's shown on my image in red. It connects the pharynx to the stomach. The upper and lower end are closed by sphincters. The esophagus is covered in elastic fibrous tissue, which contracts and relax, creating a wave effect to push the food down the esophagus. The liver is located at the right side of the abdomen, just under the ribs, and its main job in digestion is to produce bile. This bile is used by the body to break down any fats. It's a yellowy green fluid that is made up of water, salts, cholesterol and bilirubin. It's stored in the gallbladder, shown on my image in green. So the stomach is made from a muscular wall that is used to churn up the food, which has passed from the esophagus. The bolus is mixed with gastric juices to digest it further, and once this process is undertaken, it will have a new name of chyme. Gastric juices are produced in the glands of the stomach. So the small intestine is approximately 6 to 7 metres in length and is a place where most absorption takes place. It's divided into 3 sections, as you can see on the diagram: the duodenum, the jejunum and the ileum. The duodenum is the first section where the food will pass into and is located at the bottom of the stomach. The wall of the intestine is covered in folds which create a peak and valleys texture. This is used to increase the surface area so that more things can be absorbed by the small intestine. So the large intestine is approximately 1.5 meters in length and is a lot thicker than the small intestine. Its role is to absorb vitamins and minerals by converting the remaining products into feces, and it does this by removing the water from it. As you can see from the diagram, it has 4 sections. The ascending colon, which runs up through the abdomen. This is where the process of removing water begins. The transverse colon, which runs across the top. The descending colon, which runs down the abdomen cavity. This is where the feces is stored until it's eventually emptied. And the sigmoid colon. The purpose of this is to increase pressure inside the intestine, and it does so by relaxing and contracting the muscles, which causes the feces to move into the rectum. So the rectum is a storage site for any feces that's been formed in the large intestine, and the anal canal is the opening by which it leaves the body. The anal canal is approximately 1 inch long. Feces is made up of any remaining food, water, fibre, bile and bacteria. Like the esophagus, it's controlled by 2 sphincters. The nerve endings in the rectum and the external sphincter tell the body when it needs to defecate. Chemical digestion starts in the mouth and involves enzymes that are released. The body is unable to break down large food molecules, so it has to break them down into smaller molecules. This is where the enzymes come in. One of the enzymes being released is called amylase, and this breaks down the starch in food that we're eating, turning them into sugar. It's secreted from the salivary glands and has a pH balance of 6.7 to 7.0. Another enzyme that the body uses is pepsin. This is released from the gastric glands and is used for breaking down proteins in the food that we eat and drink, and it has a pH level of 1.5 to 1.6. Like most parts of the body, enzymes have optimum conditions that they prefer. So these include temperature. If it's too hot or cold, the breakdown will be slower, and the pH scale. So as mentioned, the body is naturally alkaline. The pH level that the enzymes prefer will depend on where it's used. Gastric enzymes such as pepsin prefer a more acidic environment. So the first food group is fruit and vegetables. It's recommended that we have between 5 and 7 portions a day, and these need to be different varieties and textures. They can be tinned, fresh or frozen, but fruit juice would only count as one portion, and it should be a 125ml glass. Examples are bananas, carrots, apples, grapes, and my favourite, which is broccoli. The next food group is starchy foods, and this should make up 55% of your diet, ideally from wholemeal types, and it includes bread, potatoes, and other cereals. So the next food group is dairy and their alternatives. So by that we mean soya and almond milk, that kind of thing. So these foods are high in calcium, so they're vital for strong teeth and bones. We should aim for 2 to 3 portions per day and ideally low fat options. This will reduce your saturated fat intake. Examples of these are cheese, yogurt and milk. The next food group is meat, fish and their alternatives. So by the alternatives we mean meat-free products such as soy, eggs and pulses. Examples can be beef, chicken, haddock and offal. Oily fish is also included in this, such as mackerel, and these are high protein levels. We should aim for 2 to 3 portions per week of oily fish, and limit our tinned fish as these are high in salt. So the next food group is fats, oils and spreads. Examples of these are olive oils, nuts and seeds. There's 2 main types of fats, saturated and unsaturated fats, and the body uses it for cell growth and production. So the next thing is water. Even though it's not a food group, it is vital for life, and we should be aiming for 6 to 8 glasses per day.